The spotlight hit her like a freight train, hot and unforgiving, turning the small stage at O'Malley's pub into a pressure cooker. Emily Harper, 48 years old, mother of 2 grown kids, and a corporate accountant who'd spent the last 2 decades crunching numbers in a fluorescent-lit office in suburban Chicago, gripped the neck of her acoustic guitar like it was a lifeline. Her palms were slick with sweat, her heart pounding louder than the chatter from the crowd of 20-something hipsters nursing craft beers. "Ladies and gentlemen," the MC drawled into the mic, "give it up for Emily," making her open mic debut with an original tune. The room quieted just enough for her to hear her own ragged breathing. What the hell was she doing here? One wrong chord, and she'd be the laughingstock of Wrigleyville. But as her fingers found the strings, something ignited. A spark she buried long ago. And just like that, the first note rang out clear and defiant. Little did the audience know this wasn't just a song. It was the beginning of a revolution in Emily's perfectly ordinary life. Or so she thought, until the past came knocking, threatening to unravel everything. Emily's story didn't start on that stage. It began 6 months earlier, in the sterile waiting room of Dr. Patel's office, where the air smelled like antiseptic and regret. "Perimenopause," the doctor said matter-of-factly, handing her a pamphlet on hormone therapy. "It's common at your age. Mood swings, hot flashes, fatigue." Emily nodded, but inside, she felt like she'd been handed a life sentence. At 48, she was staring down the barrel of midlife, and it looked a lot like her reflection in the rearview mirror on the drive home. Tired eyes, a few extra pounds from stress-eating takeout after long days at Harper and Associates, the accounting firm she built from scratch with her husband, Mark. Solid, dependable Mark Harper, her high school sweetheart turned business partner. They'd met at a Cubs game in '95, bonded over deep dish pizza and shared dreams of stability. 2 kids later, Alex, now 22 and backpacking through Europe, and Sophie, 20, buried in pre-med at Northwestern. Their life was a well-oiled machine. But lately it felt like the oil had run dry. Mark was always at the office buried in spreadsheets, while Emily handled the home front. Grocery runs to Jewelosco, PTA meetings even though the kids were out, and endless Netflix binges of true crime docs that made her question her own uneventful existence. That night, after the doctor's visit, Emily poured herself a glass of Chardonnay in their cozy ranch-style home in Naperville. The kids' old photos lined the mantel. Alex's Little League trophy, Sophie's ballet recital. Mark was late again, something about a client audit. She scrolled through Facebook, envying friends' posts, trips to Napa, yoga retreats in Sedona. "What happened to me?" she muttered to the empty kitchen. Then an ad popped up. "Learn guitar online. Unlock your inner rock star." It was cheesy, but something clicked. Music. She'd loved it as a kid, blasting Madonna and Bon Jovi in her bedroom in the '80s. But life got in the way: college, marriage, career. Why not now? She clicked enroll. And just like that, her midlife crisis had a soundtrack. The next day, Emily drove to Guitar Center in Schaumburg, the massive store buzzing with tattooed clerks demoing electric axes. She felt out of place in her sensible blouse and khakis, but a young salesman named Tyler, pierced eyebrow, ironic mustache, didn't bat an eye. "Beginner? Cool. Let's get you an acoustic. Yamaha FG 800, solid spruce top, great for folk stuff." She walked out with the guitar, a tuner app on her phone, and a beginner's book. Back home, she set up in the basement, away from Mark's judgmental raised eyebrow. "Guitar? At your age," he'd said with a chuckle. "What's next, a tattoo?" She ignored him, strumming her first G chord. It sounded awful, like a cat in a blender, but it felt alive. Weeks turned into months. Emily practiced every evening after work, her fingers blistering then callousing. She signed up for lessons at the local community center with Mr. Ramirez, a retired jazz guitarist in his 70s with a thick Chicago accent and stories about playing with Muddy Waters back in the day. "Music ain't about perfection, chica," he'd say, adjusting her posture. "It's about soul. You got that?" Emily poured her frustrations into it. The endless client calls, the empty nest syndrome, the way Mark seemed more excited about tax season than date nights. She started writing lyrics, simple at first, verses about lost dreams, choruses about second chances. Her first song, Midnight Strings, was about a woman waking up to her own rhythm. Mark noticed the change. "You're humming all the time." he said one Sunday over brunch at Egg Harbor Cafe. It's nice. But there was a distance in his eyes, like he was humoring her. Sophie called from campus. Mom, that's awesome. Send me a video. Alex from some hostel in Prague texted. Go for it, Ma. Rock on. Encouraged, Emily searched for open mics on meetup.com. O'Malley's Pub in Wrigleyville popped up. Every Thursday, no cover. All levels welcome. It was a dive bar near Wrigley Field. Walls plastered with Cubs memorabilia and faded band posters. Why not, she thought. Her heart raced at the idea, but the thrill outweighed the fear. The night of her debut arrived like a storm. Emily dressed casually, jeans, a flannel shirt from Target, minimal makeup. Mark offered to come, but she waved him off. This is my thing. Driving into the city, Lake Michigan's wind whipping through her cracked window, she practiced her patter in the mirror. Hi, I'm Emily from the burbs. This is a little ditty about starting over. The pub was packed with millennials in beanies and vintage teas, sipping IPAs from local breweries like Revolution or Half Acre. She signed up third on the list, nursing a ginger ale to calm her nerves. When her name was called, time slowed. The stage was a rickety platform with a single stool and a mic stand that wobbled. She tuned her guitar, the strings buzzing under the lights. Hi everyone, she stammered. A few polite claps. Then she launched into Midnight Strings. Her voice was shaky at first, but as the chorus hit, woke up to the sound of my own beat, strings pulling me from the deep, something shifted. The crowd leaned in. A guy in the back nodded along. By the end, applause erupted. Not thunderous but genuine. That was killer, the MC said. Emily floated off stage, high on adrenaline. Back home she couldn't sleep. Mark was snoring, oblivious. The next morning she checked her phone. A friend request from a guy at the open mic, Jake Riley. His profile pic showed a rugged face, mid-40s, with a guitar slung over his shoulder. Great set last night, his message read. You got real talent. Hit me up if you want to jam. Emily hesitated, then replied. Thanks. Maybe. It was innocent, but it sparked something. A flirtation with possibility. Open mics became her ritual. Every Thursday, she'd drive to O'Malley's or rotate to other spots like Uncommon Ground in Lakeview or the Beat Kitchen on Belmont. Her set list grew. Empty Nest Blues. Corporate Chains. Crowds warmed to her, the mom rocker. They called her affectionately. She made friends. Sarah, a barista with pink hair who played ukulele. Mike, a software engineer covering Springsteen. And Jake. He was a divorced dad from Evanston. A session musician who'd toured with indie bands in the aughts. They jammed after sets, sharing stories over late-night tacos at Big Star in Wicker Park. You remind me of Patti Smith, Jake said one night, his eyes lingering a bit too long. Raw honest. Emily blushed. Mark had stopped asking about her nights out. Their conversations were reduced to logistics. Did you pay the ComEd bill? The guitar was her escape, but it was pulling her away. Then came the twist. One evening at lessons, Mr. Ramirez pulled out an old photo album. Look at this, Emily. My old band, the Windy City Wanderers. We opened for Dylan once at the Aragon in '68. Emily flipped through, freezing on a page. There, in black and white, was a young woman with her face. Her mother, Gloria, 20 years old, singing backup. Wait, that's my mom, she whispered. Mr. Ramirez's eyes widened. Gloria Esposito? No way. She was our vocalist for a summer. Talented as hell, but she quit when she got pregnant with you. Emily's world tilted. Her mother, who died of cancer when Emily was 15, had always been the quiet homemaker from Little Italy, baking cannoli and watching soaps. But music? Secrets? That night, Emily dug through attic boxes in Naperville. Amid dusty yearbooks and baby clothes, she found a shoebox. Faded Polaroids of Gloria on stage, lyrics scribbled on napkins, a cassette tape labeled Gloria's Demos. She played it on an old boombox, her mother's voice soulful and strong, singing originals about love and loss. One song, Strings of Fate, mirrored Emily's own writing eerily. The revelation fueled her. Mom had the dream and gave it up for me, Emily told Jake over coffee at Intelligentsia. I won't do the same. Jake leaned in. Then let's make it real. I know a producer, small label in Logan Square. Record a demo. Excitement bubbled, but so did guilt. Mark sensed the shift. "You're out every night," he confronted her one Saturday, as she packed her guitar for a gig. "Is there someone else?" Emily denied it, but the seed was planted. Their marriage, once a safe harbor, now felt like an anchor. The open mics escalated. Emily headlined a slot at Shuba's Tavern, a historic venue where acts like Wilco had started. The crowd swelled, friends, co-workers, even Sophie surprised her by showing up. Midnight Strings went viral on a local TikTok, racking up 10K views. Comments poured in. Inspiring AF. Midlife goals. But fame's underbelly emerged. A troll account messaged, "Stick to accounting, grandma." Doubt crept in. Twist number 2 hit like a curveball at a Cubs game. Jake confessed his feelings after a jam session in his garage apartment. "Emily, you're amazing. Leave the boring life." Tempted, she kissed him brief, electric. But regret flooded her. Driving home through the loop, skyscrapers blurring in tears, she realized. This wasn't about romance. It was about reclaiming herself. She broke it off with Jake the next day. "I need to do this on my own." Empowered, Emily booked studio time. She recorded Strings of Fate, a tribute to her mom, blending Gloria's old lyrics with her own. The producer, a grizzled vet named Lou, loved it. This could go places. Folk circuit, festivals like Pitchfork or Lollapalooza's smaller stages. Mark, sensing the rift, surprised her with tickets to a Bonnie Raitt concert at the Chicago Theater. "I get it now," he said during intermission. "I was scared of losing you. But I'm proud." They reconnected, talking late into the night about dreams deferred. The climax came at the annual Chicago Folk Festival in Millennium Park. Emily submitted her demo and got a slot, prime time under the Pritzker Pavilion steel ribbons, with the skyline as backdrop. Nerves gnawed, but she channeled her mom. On stage, guitar in hand, she poured out her soul. The crowd, thousands, cheered. Sophie and Alex were there, Mark beaming from the front row. As the last chord faded, Emily felt whole. But life isn't a fairy tale. Post-festival offers trickled in. A small tour opening for a local band, a spot on Bez's music show. Emily balanced it with work, scaling back hours at the firm. Mark joined her at gigs, even picking up bass. The twist that sealed it? Digging deeper, she found Gloria's old journal. "I chose family over fame, no regrets." But Emily, if you read this, chased the melody. It was permission from beyond. Years later, at 55, Emily released her debut album, Late Bloom. It charted modestly on indie lists, but the real win was the life rebuilt. Open mics became mentorship spots. She taught beginners at the community center, passing the torch. Midlife wasn't an end. It was a riff, twisting into something beautiful. And that first spotlight, it wasn't a freight train. It was freedom.